Welcome to 3D Shapes, fifth graders. Today we're going to be working under the first skill, which is I will be able to classify three-dimensional shapes by the number of edges, faces, or vertices. Those three words are words that you're going to want to make sure you have written down in your vocabulary section. A couple things to keep in mind when you talk about three-dimensional shapes. A three-dimensional shape has length, width, and height. In this case, width can also be used with the term breadth. Those two words mean the same thing. They are synonyms. The side of a 3D shape is called the face. The line where two faces of a 3D shape meet is called 3D shapes meet is called the edge. The point where three edges come together on a three-dimensional shape is called a vertex, and more than one vertex is called vertices. So those are some definitions that you're going to want to have written in your notes so that you can refer back to them later on in the presentation. Okay, so we're going to start a little bit comparing two-dimensional with three-dimensional. A square is a two-dimensional shape, and it's called 2D or flat shape because it only has length and height. So when we talk about a square, we're only talking about its length and about its height. A cube is a three-dimensional shape because it has the length and the height, but it also has breadth, or we can also say width. Okay? When we talk about 3D shapes, we're talking about three dimensions: height, length, and width. Each side that makes up a cube is called a face. An object that is cube-shaped, like a dice, has 6 faces. So every flat surface of a three-dimensional shape is called a face. And we can classify our three-dimensional shapes by how many faces they have. So if we look at the 3 visible faces, usually when you look at a diagram and drawing, there are 3 faces that are visible. The front one, the side one, and the one on top. So as you can see, there are 3 visible faces. But we know also, looking at it, that there are 3 faces that are not visible because they're not shown in the view. The opposite of this face, there's a face, the opposite of this face, and the opposite of this face. So there are 6 faces total in a cube. So when you're looking at a three-dimensional object and you are asked how many faces there are, you have to remember that some of them are hidden from view. So we call the line where 2 faces meet the edge of the shape. So the edge are kind of like the lines where if it was laid out flat, it's where the folds would be. On a cube, there are 12 edges. So what you want to do when you count that is you look at how many edges are on the top face, how many are on the bottom, and then how many connect the top to the bottom. So here's a little quiz. We call the line where 2 faces meet the blank of the shape. So I want you to think in your head which one it would be. Is it breadth or width, length, edge, height, or face? And we call that line the edge. So right there is the edge. We call the point where edges meet, where 3 edges meet, is called the vertex. When we speak of more than one vertex, or the plural of the word vertex is vertices. So if you have one, it's a vertex. If you have more than one, it is vertices. And the spelling is also a little bit different. So here I want you to look at the pyramid. Pyramids are also three-dimensional shapes. You can see that they have the same features as a three-dimensional cuboid. We have faces, we have edges where 2 sides meet, and we have vertices. So for this one, I want you to look a little bit at the pyramid, and then we're going to answer some questions about it. When you're asked to review a three-dimensional figure, the typical things you're going to look for are how many faces, how many edges, how many vertices, and that's how you will classify the shape. All right, so when you're looking at this pyramid, how many faces does it have? Remember, you want to look at the ones that are visible and the ones that are hidden. In this case, they show the hidden edges by using a slash line. So how many faces are on this pyramid? And hopefully you came up with 5. 1 on the bottom is 1. Now because your bottom shape is 4-sided, you know that there are 4 sides connecting that to it. So it'd be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Pyramid has 5 faces. It also has 8 edges. So if we're looking at the edges, we look at where it touches. And it touches 1, 2, 3, 4. Don't forget this one, 5 and 6. And don't forget that these 2 are places where it touches too. So that is 8 edges. And now if we look at how many vertices, it's how many places 3 edges come together. And we have that it should be 5 vertices. Okay? All right, another name for the side of a three-dimensional shape is, pick your answer in your head. And our answer is face. The vertex is a point where how many edges come together. I think it's 2, 4, or 3. Get your answer in your head. And it should be 3 edges. And that's about it for just classifying basics of a shape.